Greetings, YouTube. So a Tennessee judge, Lou Ann Bailew, has decided that a child's name is inappropriate and has changed it against the wishes of the parents. The parents had gone to court because they couldn't decide what the child's last name should be. The mother and the father were in disagreement who should have the naming rights for their child. That sounds like something that could have been worked out outside of a court, but that's just me. Maybe it couldn't. And while in court, the first name of the child came into play, and the child's first name was Messiah. Judge Bailew decided that that was inappropriate, and her reasoning was thus. The word Messiah is a title, and it's a title that has only been earned by one person, and that one person is Jesus Christ, Judge Bailew said. Well, actually, Messiah is a title, but it isn't the only title we use as names. And the judge changed the kid's name to Martin. And as someone on a forum I read recently said, no one named Martin has ever thrown a monkey wrench into the religious establishment before. Nope, never happened. Martin is a name with no association like that. Let's see how many people get that reference. But we use other names that are titles. Regina, Rex, Carl, Earl. All of those are titles, admittedly. There's more than one of them. But in the case of Regina and Rex, there aren't a lot of them. And in the countries that those names could be used in, it is quite possible that there's only one person in that entire country with that name. And yet, that name is allowed. So, why is it okay for this judge to decide whether this person's name is or is not Messiah? Now, I think it's a pretty cool name. We have people who named after prophets. There are people named Jesus, Jesus. He's a prophet. There are people named Muhammad. I've met a number of them in my life. He's a prophet. There are other people in the world that have names like Moses. There's an actor named Judge Reinhold. Should he have his name changed, Judge Bailew? Because, he's named after a title? That's wrong, right? You can't have that? I think this judge is overreaching here. I think this judge is imposing her particular religious worldview onto other people, which, to my mind, is a violation of the Establishment Clause. When a government officer says, you may not express your particular religious view the way you want, that's a problem. Now, we're not talking about a crime here. We're talking about someone naming their child what they wanted to name them. I remember I went to school with a girl named Zebra. Now, her name officially wasn't Zebra. Her parents wanted to name her Zebra, but she was born in a Catholic hospital. And they said, you cannot name your child Zebra. So they named her Sandra. They never called her Sandra. In fact, the only people that ever called her Sandra were people who were looking at her report or in school and things like that, saying, Sandra so-and-so, are you in class, kind of thing? And as soon as they learned her actual name, which was Zebra, they used it. And the day she turned 18, she had it legally changed to Zebra, because that was her name. It didn't matter that the hospital said, no, you can't have it. And it doesn't matter if this judge says, no, you can't call your child that, because you can call your child anything you friggin' well want to. So I hope that this case gets overturned. And if it doesn't, I hope that Messiah, when he grows up and turns 18, he has his name legally changed to Messiah. And I hope he sends a copy of that report to Judge Bailew. Because she's overstepped herself here. You don't get to make these kind of decisions for other people. There are lots of that kind of conversation here on my channel. What you don't get to decide for other people. And this is one of them. Yes, there are going to be people that name their children weird things. I work with a guy named Enoch. It's got to be one of the most unpleasant sounding names in the history of the world. But it's his name. I work with a guy who doesn't use his first name because it's African and he wants to feel that he's assimilated. So he goes by Isaac. But that's not his real name. It's the name he uses here. But it's not the name he has in real life. It's not the name he was given at birth, but he wants to assimilate, so he uses Isaac. That always makes me sad. What we call ourselves is important. My friend Skallagrim, that's not his name. It's the name he chose for himself. I occasionally have to use his birth name when I send a package to him. But other than that, I call him Skall. Because it's the name he wants. I hope someday he gets the opportunity to change it. My sister changed her name. It was Jennifer. You have no idea how annoying the names Jim and Jen are when screamed across a house when you're a kid. But she changed it to Hope. Because she liked Hope better. Didn't like Jennifer. It's her call. It's her right. My ex-wife has no names now that she did when she was born. And that's okay. So I think this judge stepped over the line. So I want to know, what do you think? Should the judge have made this call? Should she have ironically chosen a name such as Martin? Is this overreach? Are parents doing something that you disagree with? I'm interested in knowing. Names are important. Names are what we are, who we are, how we define ourselves. There was a time when I was known as Jim. I prefer James. There are still people in my life that call me Jim. If they care for me, I correct them. If they don't care for me, I ignore it. There are people who call me Tetsubo, and I acknowledge that name. I answer to that name. But that was my choice. How we define ourselves is important. And if this kid's name is Messiah, then I think we should bloody well call him Messiah.